Welcome to the podcast, It's Not You, It's PCOS. Hi, I'm Lora.
And I'm Nick.
We are two expert, accredited practicing dietitians and nutritionists specializing in nutrition for PCOS and fertility.
Together we have over 25 years of experience, and we want to reassure you that if you have ever tried to make diet and lifestyle changes and failed, it's not you, it's PCOS.
Stay tuned as we share our favorite evidence-based nutrition and lifestyle tips that we use with our own clients every day,
so that you can start to feel your best with PCOS. Hello and welcome back to the podcast, It's Not You, It's PCOS. I'm Nick.
And I'm Laura, and today we are excited to dive into a topic that surprises a lot of people: how eating more can actually support weight loss and improve your health when managing PCOS.
I'm so passionate about this area, and it might sound like really, really strange. I'm not sure, Laura, if you get a bit of pushback when you say, so you're not eating enough food and you need to double what you're eating or something along those lines. You know, a lot of us have actually grown up hearing that weight loss is all about eating less food and restricting and of course moving more. But the restrictive part is not necessarily true, particularly with PCOS. So sometimes that advice to eat less can actually backfire.
Absolutely. PCOS affects metabolism, hormones, and energy balance in unique ways. It's quite complex, but today we're going to explain why increasing food intake, especially the right foods, can actually help you feel better, manage your symptoms, and even lose weight if that's your goal.
So if you're listening and you've tried cutting calories to no end, only to feel exhausted, tired, frustrated, stuck, please stay with us, because we're definitely here to help make some sense of what can be a bit of a new concept to some people.
So some common misconceptions about eating less and losing weight. Well, there's a whole bunch of reasons, but we're going to go through them one by one. So let's start with the basics. I think most people believe that to lose weight, you simply need to eat less. And yes, for some people, that does work. But with PCOS, things are a little bit more complex. And because of how the condition affects hormones like insulin and cortisol, this does look differently.
Yeah. So for those with PCOS, slashing calories too low could actually do more harm than good. So when you're under eating, your body thinks it's in like this survival mode. So it slows down lots of bodily processes, including your metabolism. We all know having a high metabolism is a good thing. And actually, it can lead to weight gain when you cut your calories, which totally doesn't make any sense. But I have seen patient after patient after patient come into my private practice, and they're hardly eating anything. And they're like, why do I put on weight, Nick?
Yeah, exactly. It's really disheartening when you are thinking that you're doing the right thing by restricting your calories and trying to eat less. But unfortunately, it's not just about calories. PCOS affects the way our bodies process nutrients, especially carbohydrates. So when you're not eating enough or you're not eating balanced meals, it can create blood sugar swings, and that worsens cravings, fatigue, food noise, mood swings as well, which only adds more stress to the body.
Exactly. And stress to the brain in particular, right? So like if you go into this cycle of eating very little, feeling deprived, and then you psychologically, you go stuff it, and then you might move into more of a binge eating like environment, or getting all those food cravings that I'm sure, Laura, you hear about from your patients all the time.
Yeah, exactly. And that's that constant yo-yo dieting or that restrictive binge cycle, and that can mess up your hormones, and that makes it even harder to either manage weight or lose weight and feel energized. You know, you touched on how that can affect your mood and, feeling lethargic and being stuck in a pattern where you're not really eating, you're feeling tired, and you're still not losing weight does not feel good.
Okay. So you're probably thinking now, all right, so these guys are saying eat more, but of course it depends on what you're eating still. So Here's where eating more comes in. So when we say eating more, we're not saying eat anything and everything. It's more about adding more nutrient dense foods to each meal and snack. So your body just gets more of the fuel that it actually needs. Now, this can help keep your blood sugar stable, can also boost your metabolism because it costs energy to digest, absorb, and distribute all of these vitamins and minerals. So the more we eat in general, the higher our metabolism becomes. But once again, it depends on the foods that we're eating as well. So with all that, that can help our metabolism, but it can also support our hormones too.
Yeah, for women with PCOS, balanced meals with protein, healthy fats, and fiber-rich carbs are crucial. Protein and fiber are especially important because they help with satiety, and that can link you back to that food noise and food cravings that come about when you are restricting your diet and not getting that key component, which is fiber. And that does help with those blood sugar spikes and crashes, which make us feel awful. But let's you know, think about that 3 p.m. pickup when you need something to grab, and you feel terrible. You just feel like something that's sugary, generally speaking. And that's really because you're getting that lull in your blood sugar levels, and it's your body saying, I need something else. And we tend to reach for things that are not so nutritious at that point of time. And if we can work backwards and provide those nutrients earlier in the day, we're going to have more stable blood sugar levels, less food noise, less cravings, and then feel good throughout the whole day and avoid these excess calories that are coming from foods that aren't nutrient dense. So it can have a wonderful effect on the foods that you do choose as well when you are feeling hungry.
100% agree. It's so good that we're on the same page on all of this. It's obviously a big problem that a lot of our patients have in common. And like breaking down an example like you just did there about 3 p.m., it's really interesting, and suggesting that we work backwards and try and determine where we went wrong that was causing our blood sugars to go down and for us to feel hungry. And a great example of what people do is just grabbing a piece of toast for breakfast. It's easily digestible, doesn't keep us full for long. Then we move into our day after having our toast. Maybe it had Vegemite on it, or maybe it had some honey on it, or whatever it had, easily digestible. And then, like I said, we move into our day. We're in meetings, we're dealing with the kids, whatever it might be. And then at 3 p.m., it's like the brain doesn't forget. It's like the brain's just gone, hey, you didn't eat much food then. So when are we going to eat? And it's telling us, but it's almost like we're ignoring it. So in terms of that breakfast example, with the piece of toast, you could try adding some eggs for protein, maybe some avo or avocado for healthy fats, spinach, perhaps some cherry tomatoes or something along those lines. And then all of a sudden, like the actual calories that have increased by including those extra nutrient dense foods isn't that significant. But the beauty about it is it's stabilized our blood sugar levels. It's given our brain exactly what it wants. And therefore, we're probably less, I guess, susceptible to wanting to binge or choose poor foods like chocolates and sugary items at that 3 p.m. that you were suggesting, Laura.
Yeah, perfect example. I think many women also grab, a coffee in the morning and then carry on with their day and not really are fueling their bodies and thinking about, am I having with that toast, am I having a protein? Am I having a healthy fat? And that can be an easy addition, but a great way to kind of manage blood sugar levels, just thinking about, have you got those 3 components on your plate? And you don't have to stick to those tiny portions. That often does lead to hunger and snacking later on. So feel free to enjoy a breakfast that is full and nutritious. Yeah, and it doesn't have to be a typical breakfast. There's no rules. You could have leftovers for breakfast. I'm definitely one of those people who likes a savory breakfast and sometimes will reach for my leftovers.
Steak and veggies for brekkie?
Yeah, I definitely can. I am a runner, and so I do wake up quite hungry, and I train late afternoon. So I do find that I wake up ready for not necessarily a breakfast type food, more something a bit more substantial for me. And if that's you as well, it's okay. It doesn't have to be the typical breakfast options.
For sure. Yeah, we don't have to have cornflakes for breakfast, do we?
No, it can be adventurous.
Yeah. All right. So it may feel like a big mindset shift, and I suppose like we've used breakfast as an example, but obviously a well-balanced lunch or something around the middle of the day would also be a great idea, and not just a sandwich, but something a little bit more involved with those food groups that Laura just talked about. So if you're listening and wondering how much to eat, don't be afraid to have that full plate. Okay. So trying to stick to tiny portions, as Laura just mentioned, is like I suppose, what's a good way of putting it? I guess you're cutting off your nose despite your face. Does that work, Laura?
I don't know. It sounds great. I haven't heard that one before.
Haven't
Love
you?
it, Nick. No.
Yeah. You're trying to do the right thing, and nobody
Mm.
is judging you on that, but you're probably doing yourself more harm than good by not eating enough food within the right balance. It's so crucial. And I don't know about you, Laura, but I get the best results with people that eat more food.
Absolutely. And I think that's such a game changer for a lot of our PCOS clients, knowing that restriction isn't the key to success because they've been doing that for so long and they've been told to lose weight and they haven't been able to or haven't been able to do it for a very long time. And it does lead to a feeling of perhaps, well, I don't have enough self motivation or self will. Like, I'm not able to stick to this and I don't know why, and self blame. So it can add another layer of, yeah, making it more difficult for yourself if you're restricting and not really, there isn't that sort of understanding whether that this is a good approach or not for you. And perhaps eating more is actually going to be beneficial in weight management and blood sugar control, insulin resistance. And, it really depends on what your PCOS symptoms are and what we're targeting. But if this is something that you haven't tried and you have been struggling with weight loss, this is something that could be a game changer.
Awesome. So rather than restricting, think of fueling. Your body with PCOS needs more nutrients to support hormonal balance, energy levels, and yes, even metabolism. And I think even just to help put out the inflammation that comes with PCOS. So all those anti-inflammatory foods that you might not be getting to help with your inflammation if you're not eating enough food is a problem. So trying this new way of this kind of new nuanced approach by eating more food, eating more vitamins and minerals, eating more antioxidants, helping with your hormones and your energy levels. It's a game changer for some people.
Hmm. Well, we've got some listener Q&A questions on this episode, so we are excited to share that with you. These are some common concerns that have come up, and yeah, we want to answer your questions. Some of the things that have come up are: won't eating more make me gain weight, or what if I'm not hungry?
Fantastic questions. And they do come up a lot. So it's not just from this one particular listener. So first, if you're eating nutrient dense foods and balancing your meals, you shouldn't necessarily put on weight. So yeah, you're probably, depending on how little you were eating previously, that it's definitely a concern that has merit. But time and time again, I have seen the opposite. So your metabolism actually needs enough calories to function optimally. And this is really, really important. So if you're not feeding that metabolism the calories that it needs, I mean, what do you think your brain is going to do? It's going to put you into that conservative mode where a walk down the street doesn't cost you as much energy. So I'll leave the next bit to Laura because I'll just go off on a tangent here.
Well, exactly what you said, Nick. When you're not eating enough, your body doesn't feel the need to hold on to every calorie as fat. So this starts to feel safe, which allows you to use that energy effectively. And that's the key thing that we want to do. We want to make sure that your body's in a position to lose weight. And having the calories that support your daily activity, that is going to be super important for your body to have to be able to use energy better and therefore lose weight.
Well, that's very well said and very succinct. I probably would have gone on for about 60 minutes and listeners would have been like, what?
No, they love it when you chat. But what if you're not hungry? Like how can we address that, Nick?
Yeah, sure. So sometimes that's just your body getting used to eating more. And it makes complete sense. Like if you were to, let's put it in exercise terms, if you were to go from just sitting on the couch to running a marathon, of course you're going to feel some friction. You're not going to enjoy it. So with the appetite, it's just important to increase gradually, kind of push your appetite muscle, as I like to say in clinic, so that you're working it, but you're not overdoing it. So you're not going to break or tear a muscle or your appetite. And in terms of breaking and tearing muscles, the equivalent with eating would be feeling nauseous or feeling so stuffed that you can't move, or potentially feeling like you're going to vomit. So it's important not to go from 0 to 100 straight away. So it's a gradual increase. Let your body, let your brain, let your tummy and your digestive system adjust, especially when you've been eating really, really low calories for what can seem like a whole lifetime. So we're trying to unwind not only what we're doing, but it's like a lifetime of habits as well. So it's really hard.
Yeah, that's some great points, Nick. If you're trying this out, don't be afraid to take your time with this. You don't need to work yourself up to a full breakfast within a week. It can take a couple of weeks for you to feel comfortable and for you then to also experience those hunger cues and then be prepared for that too. So it takes a little bit more of that meal planning and having some perhaps after that smaller breakfast that you weren't having initially, having something like a piece of fruit and nuts that you can have when you do feel that appetite kick in and feel a little bit more hungry soon after. That can be helpful. Sort of having a breakfast that's split versus having everything all at once if you're not a breakfast person.
And there's plenty of them out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love it when my patients tell me that, that they had been eating breakfast, say, and some of them don't even eat lunch. Imagine what the body would do in response to eating breakfast and lunch when you haven't been doing it for a long period of time. It'd be like, woohoo, it's party time. The body would be like, what is all this nutrition? Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent again. So I love it when I get a non-breakfast eater that has drawn a line in the sand and said, all right, I'm going to eat breakfast every day or 5 days a week between our sessions. And then they come back and they say to me, Nick, unbelievable. I've lost weight. I feel more energy. And guess what? I actually felt hungry again in the morning for the first time in years and years and years. And so I'm obviously happy for my patient, but I'm also thinking metabolism's kicking in there. This is good. This is good. We're heading in the right direction.
Yeah.
Just thought I'd add that in there.
Yeah, love that. Yeah, love that. And a lot of there is a genuine fear of eating more equals weight gain. So I think that's comforting to know that we're not. We've talked about what it looks like to eat more, and that if it's done in the right way, then it absolutely can be so helpful. So I'm glad that we've shared a few of those examples because it's comforting to know that if you do eat more, you might just break that habit or perhaps not habit, but that stage where there is no weight loss occurring might be the thing that shifts the needle for you.
And I think our listeners might be, I'm sure everyone's getting the message, try eating more food, but I think it might be a bit tricky in terms of the application. So understanding how to go about it. And I suppose that's where visiting people like myself and Lora, accredited practicing dietitians who work with patients in this space on a daily basis, like, you wouldn't try and fix your alternator in your car on your own. So why would you try and fix your diet on your own? We're here to help. And it's not just us. You just approach your local healthcare providers and get some help here because it's a tricky thing to navigate when you're increasing all of your food volume. Like Laura says, there'll be friction. When you're trying to increase your appetite, it's hard, and it's hard to know exactly how to go about it. So people like us can help. So in terms of helping, let's get into some real life tips anyway for eating more with PCOS. So let's get super practical. Here are some actionable tips to get you started and on your way.
So the first tip, try to include a protein source at each meal. This could be eggs, chicken, tofu, even beans are a great protein source. Protein is very helpful for keeping blood sugar levels stable and reducing those sugar cravings.
And make sure you include some healthy fats too. So nuts, seeds, avocado, olive oil, oily fish, things like that. So fats actually don't spike your insulin. They don't spike your blood sugar levels and therefore your insulin. So they can actually help you feel fuller for longer so that you're less likely to experience those cravings.
Another tip is to aim for fiber-rich carbohydrates like sweet potato, oats, and your veggies. We don't get enough fiber. The research keeps telling us this, and we do know that fiber is great for the gut microbiome. It is great for blood sugar control, and it does leave you feeling more satisfied. So it might be a good way to also track your fiber intake to know where you're at and therefore how much more to add.
And fiber is also crucial for the gut microbiome and variety of different fiber types. So if you're looking to improve your hormonal balance, reduce inflammation, and help with your insulin resistance, targeting the gut, and I know it's a passion project of mine, so I go on about it in pretty much every episode, but targeting the gut's crucial. All right. So next tip would be don't forget about the fluids like water. So stay hydrated. As dehydration can actually trick you into thinking that you're hungry, which leads to that unnecessary snacking.
If you're worried about adding too many calories as well, try building a balanced snack rather than just skipping the meals. Think Greek yogurt with berries or hummus with veggies. These are just simple examples, but these snacks add nutrients without a ton of calories. So that's something to consider alongside a balanced meal is adding those balanced snacks that can be really helpful for curbing those cravings that come later in the days or in between the meals.
Yeah, 100%. Just to follow up on that a little bit further, if you're a non-breakfast eater, that could be the thing that you have for breakfast. And then you grow your appetite for something a bit more substantial from there. That's one of my strategies that I tend to use in private practice. And it seems people don't feel like vomiting after having some hummus and veggies. It doesn't make them feel too full, no matter how early in the morning it is. So it's a really good idea. Let's get into muscles.
Hey.
Not that I have
Flexing
big
his
ones or
muscles.
anything like that. Yeah. So muscles are an absolute game changer. And when you eat more, especially more protein, and you pair it with strength training, it's awesome. It can actually help you build that lean muscle and help with things like metabolism.
Yeah, building muscles not only about building muscles, it is actually helpful for improving insulin sensitivity, but also boosts your resting metabolism, meaning you'll burn more calories even at rest, which is awesome. But don't worry, you don't have to be a gym rat or someone who's, constantly working out. Every 2 to 3 days a week of resistance training can make a difference. So, aiming for 2 to 3 days a week of that resistance training can help improve insulin sensitivity. I think that's a great hack. I see a lot of women that do heaps of cardio and sort of skip the strength training stuff. And it doesn't have to be for a strenuous amount of time. And for like that 30 to 45 minutes max is plenty.
Absolutely. Especially those with PCOS. So think as food as fuel for those workouts and for muscle repair. If you don't fuel that workout appropriately, you will start to break down your muscle. It's
Mm.
not a good idea to exercise when your body's not fueled properly, because you won't get the same benefit as you would if it was fueled. And let's say, like, some people hate exercise, right? So you might as well maximize your efforts instead
Mm.
of inhibiting them by not fueling your body properly.
Absolutely. And I think that that's really important because, again, it leans to that conversation of making sure that you're eating enough for your body. And that's one of our key messages today is that we want to fuel your body so that you are going to benefit from improved metabolism and improved results, perhaps at the gym and insulin sensitivity. Also, the benefits extend to mood and energy and how you feel overall. So, muscle does help support the body in not just one way, but beyond that too.
Yeah, it makes sense. If you aren't eating enough food and you've gone and exercised, and then your brain's enacted the breaking down of amino acids in your muscle to be converted by the liver into glucose to then
Mm.
replenish your muscle with the energy that it actually needs because you're not getting it through diet. What kind of a signal do you think that's sending to the brain? That's saying survival, conservation.
Mm.
Let's not burn any fat right now. we
Oh,
need we need all the energy we can get. So I hope that makes sense to our listeners, because it's a pretty important point. So one of the biggest shifts we want to emphasize is moving from that restrictive mindset to one of nourishment. PCOS isn't about deprivation. It's about giving your body what it needs to thrive.
yeah. I love that. It's also about letting go of the idea that food is the enemy. With PCOS, food can be an ally, especially when we are focusing on balanced meals that are nutrient dense and that are going to give us the support and also for our bodies to work and function better, but also the nutrients and anti-inflammatory properties that are going to help fight what the condition is doing within.
And it's so empowering for individuals to go from that restrictive mindset to one of more of abundance. And without the restriction, it's just like a game changer, both physiologically within the body, but also mentally. So
Mm.
instead of seeing food as something to control or restrict, think of it as a tool for improving energy and mood, and even your relationship with your body and with food.
That is my favorite
Mm.
outcome when people do increase their food and understand their diet and what's best for their PCOS. And it's usually by adding more foods back into their diet. I love that their relationship with food improves and they finally feel free from this unhealthy relationship with food. They finally feel like they understand their body, they understand PCOS, and they understand the nutrients that they need to make a difference. So I love that. I love that shift. Food becomes their friend, really. They look at food as fuel and as a way of putting out the fire that's within.
Amen.
Amen. So remember, PCOS is a marathon and it's not a sprint. It's a journey. And if you can focus on making small, sustainable changes and having these goals that you can work up towards building a lifestyle and dietary changes that you can actually stick with, then that's the way forward. That's the way to help you maintain weight, a healthy body weight, a healthy relationship with food, not having that quick fix view, but a long-term view where you can feel good and feel your best with PCOS.
Yeah. So if you're listening and you're ready to give this approach a try, start by adding more of those nutrient-rich foods. So your fruits, your vegetables, your nuts, your seeds, your lean meats and oily fish or plant-based alternatives, your legumes, a little bit of dairy or dairy alternatives. Have I missed anything, Laura?
Now, keep up the hydration. That's really important. We talked about that a little bit as well. And your protein being at every meal. And that's going to help when you do engage in those strength training exercises as well. So I hope those are great tips that you can start with 1 or 2 this week and start implementing, and let us know how it goes. We love to hear from you. Share your experiences, ask questions, or tell us what's worked for you. That would be amazing, and we can share it in our next episode, how you guys are going.
Awesome. So we love hearing from you. And if this episode has helped you rethink your approach to food, share it with someone else who might benefit.
Thanks for tuning into the podcast. It's not you, it's PCOS. Until next time, take care, eat well, and remember, it's not you, it's PCOS.